The monstrous secret has finally been revealed. The Dark Elves Kharibdyss. Now, we've talked a little bit about the Kharibdyss in the past. We've gone into it in our Dark Elf Army lore video. But essentially the Kharibdyss is this, and it's right there. As you can see, it rather than having heads, it has bladed vaginas all over it. And it's disgusting, but beautiful all at the same time. The Kharibdyss is summoned up from the lake, or like it's not the lake, but the giant bay that is, I think it's actually called the Chill Bay, right inside of Nagaron. And they summon this monster up from the depths, and it trudges through the battlefield to eat and devour its foes. In tabletop, it wasn't so great. In Rome, in Total War Warhammer 2, it looks to be pretty cool. So let's go down here and take a look at the patch notes for today, as well as some of the stuff about Kharibdyss. So we know that Kharibdyss comes out tomorrow at 15 BST. That's 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. You guys can kind of work off of that from there. But it's poisonous, armor-piercing attacks, and some of the hardest hitting in the game. So basically, this monster is going to be some sort of, let's see here. It's terrifying. Presence of how reduces the abyssal howl. That's what I was looking for. So this is going to reduce leadership, and it's really going to be a monster slayer. You know, even dragons may end up reduced to little more than a mid-battle snack by as many mouths. So expect this to kind of be something that is going to knock around those heavy, hard targets, those large targets for the Dark Elves. The Hydra itself is already AP, and it already is anti-infantry. So this is going to be that mirror. It's going to be on that anti-large front for the Dark Elves as a monstrous creature of the swords. I mean, look at that thing, right? Like, look at that. Oh, ew. God, imagine waking up next to that thing. Just, good morning. I'm assuming that's what it sounds like. Let's talk about some of the patch notes, because they're huge. So they rebalanced Crone Hellebron's Cursed Blades. So no longer are we just going to get that thing just destroying everything in its wake. Hopefully we'll be able to do some testing with the likes of Jonton, Turin, and Gobbo King to really get an idea of if it's truly applied. Hopefully it isn't completely fixed, because I'm sorry. Hopefully it is completely fixed, because that thing was just ridiculous. I mean, Crone Hellebron still could get killed quickly, but at the same time, if she got her mittens on you, she was mitten for a kitten. That's a term. I'm going to use it. But also we get some other cool things here. Bone Giant has the undead trait removed and the construct trait added. So that is glorious. And you also get a little buff to its leadership. There's other things here. I'm going to go through the ones that I think are probably the most important. Bretonnia's starting armies have changed back to where they were prior to the Queen and Crone update. Meaning, for those of you that have been watching my Bretonnia Mortal Empires playthrough, I'm going to restart. Since we're only one episode in, I'd rather take advantage of that. The Tyrion's -1 to recruitment time will now apply to Sisters of Avalorn and Shadow Warriors, the new units. And it looks, as a whole, all the High Elves will now take advantage of the fact that there was a DLC. I mean, if you look at this stuff here, AI will now build handmaiden galleries, will now upgrade Gain Veil. So it's like they didn't even realize that it was there for some reason. Some little things here to the Sword of Cain, as far as the kind of weird kind of quirks in there. Will no longer display an Empire flag after loading a save game from before the Queen of the Crone update, when Shard of Cain has been raised. So you just kind of a lot of weird little quirks here. Diplomacy greetings for Dark Elf factions will now use the correct voiceover actor. No longer will it always be Malekith. But here's one. Sisters of Slaughter and Sisters of Avalorn will no longer use male conversational voiceovers in battles. Who discovered that bug, and how terrifying was it for them? That would have been really weird. Like, you click on the Sisters of Avalorn, it's like, yeah, got it, sure, wherever you want. Where'd that come from? As you go through the list here, we get a lot of really cool little buffs here. I'm trying to think if there's any big one that I can't think of. Oh, the Tier 5 Dwarf Smith building chain will now increase the capacity for runesmiths being recruitable. So that's nice. You're going to get more runesmiths on the field, help you generate even more grudge coins, I think it was what it's called. You'll be able to do even more with the Dwarf Smith with this handy Tier 5 implementation for the Dwarf Smiths. As we go through here, though, I always love, there's always one kind of like, cheeky British one. Fashion advisors have been hired for the Hydras. I'm not sure what this means. Maybe the Hydras got a little bit of an overhaul. Maybe they're the the things in the back of their head, the little quills have been cut up. Who knows? But as again, a lot of cool patch notes here. If you're really into some of the stuff from campaign, I definitely say go check that out. The Supreme Sorceress shoulder clipping issues have been fixed. I know that was a big thing that we needed for a long time. I know personally I couldn't do anything with the Dark Elves because of that bullshit. But let's go into the balance changes because they're damn important. So Beastmen got a little bit of a kind of a mismatch of stuff, right? So Bestigor Herds and Korok's Manrippers, since they're one and the same, they got a -5 to their armor. Gore Herds as a whole got a little increase to their melee attack, and Cygor Regiment of Renown had an increase in cost by 50. So that might make it so that one build you have is now 50 points over. I've had these little cost increases and decreases completely change a certain build I have. So do be mindful of this. 50 cost doesn't seem like a lot, but a lot of builds kind of like, if you're really doing your build right, you're down to as few points as possible, if not just dead on 0. So see if that messed up any of your points for any of the armies we go through. But we have the lovely Bretonnia. Now, Bretonnia got a pretty huge buff here, and it doesn't look like a lot on paper. So if we take a look at the Hippogriff Knights, Alberic, and King Lowen, they all got +10 armor, increase as well as the Lord. Also, the Hippogriff Knights got a nice increase to their mass. It's going to be a little bit more on their charge, going to be really knocking things around when they hit up stuff. So really cool to see that, because the Hippogriff, I don't really ever take the Hippogriffs. So, take that with a grain of salt, I suppose. The Green Knight gets a little buff to his health, which is nice. The Foot Squires and the Mounted Yeoman Archers get a reduction in cost by 50, which again, this could make or break a whole build. Questing Knight Regiment Renowned get a little increase in cost, but the Foot Squire Regiment Renowned, matching their non-Regiment Renowned brothers, get a -50 in cost as well. Also, a nice little +1 to melee attack per model, which is pretty sizable. So they're going to be hitting more often, going to be doing a lot more of that anti-large that they have, because they have the really cool little halberds. But let's talk about probably one of the biggest things here for Bretonnians. They added expendable to every single man-at-arms, almost like that said man-at-arms, variant for Bretonnians. Now, what does this mean? I mean, oh yeah, great, cool, they're expendable. Now they're just confirmed trash on the actual title. What that means is, if you have a route across your men-at-arms line, that leadership penalty would have fixed to your paladins, to your knights, to your archers, to any of your Royal Pegasus knights. So when you have expendable, leadership penalties for them routing don't apply to anyone else other than other expendable units. So if the men-at-arms flee, well, then just the men-at-arms will flee and get negative penalties for that. So you don't have to worry about mass routes with Bretonnia. This kind of makes Bretonnia hold the line a little bit better and makes their leadership a little less flimsy, because you're not relying on your whole line not buckling, so you don't have to worry about it. I remember in Total War Warhammer 1, you almost never chose men-at-arms with just swords or shields. You almost always chose Foot Squires and the battle pilgrims, because it just made for a better, stockier, more reliable front line. And I mean, now that how the meta shift a lot, and how you need a lot of chaff units to fight a lot against other chaff units, men-at-arms have really made a resurgence. But now with this expendable trait, it makes it a lot more reliable to have those men-at-arms in your army. Also, we get the Paladin gets the Guardian ability, which is really solid, and a +12 bonus versus large, because the Paladin already is kind of used as that kind of like a goon squad against large targets. And you can use them in conjunction with Lowen, so this makes him even more goony. And that Guardian ability is substantial, a nice benefit. It makes taking Paladins a lot more worthwhile, because you can actually get a pretty decent Paladin, I think at 900 or some points, or just over 1,000. So you can get a pretty good bonus versus large goon squad that also gives that Guardian ability across the line. So a huge buff there to Bretonnia. Chaos, on the other hand, a little mismatch of things here. Kolek is now fatter, so he can be hit more often with projectiles. Chosen get a small little nerf in their hit points, meaning their durability is a small drop. But I don't think that hit points is going to be huge or hugely substantial, because the Chosen still are so strong on every other battle, or every other point, as far as their melee defense and their actual melee capabilities. So that hit point should just kind of help bring them in line with the rest of the army. Marauders with great weapons and Horse Masters get a little charge bonus, which is peachy keen. The Sigvald the Magnificent gets a lovely -50 in cost, and Sarthoriel gets a +50 in cost because he's an asshole. The Hell Cannon has a minor decrease in projectile accuracy because they made that thing so accurate. I mean, and the Hell Cannon will delete a unit so fast. If you have the Regiment Renown one, that one shoots even faster and it's even more accurate. So, whew, it is just the deleter, the smasher of worlds. The Hell Cannon Regiment Renown, again, gets the +50 in cost. And the Swords of Chaos get -3 base melee damage, but +3 AP melee damage. So they get a little swapperoo there and can do a little bit more to armored units, which is always nice. Dark Elves got a little bit of a kind of like a power check, right? They got a little bit of a, hey, we realized there were some things that were grossly broken on Dark Elves, we fixed them. One of them was being obviously Crone Hellebrand's Cursed Dagger. That is fixed. Raven Heralds have a +5 hit point per entity, which is nice because the Raven Heralds were a little too papery. They could do a lot of cool damage, but they just weren't doing, they weren't very stocky, so they could be taken out so fast that as soon as someone focused on them, they were dead. So this at least kind of helps them hold the line a little bit. Bolt Fiends, though, look at this ditty. Replace Murderous Mastery with Murderous Prowess. So that is very good because Bolt Fiends were ridiculous in the past. If Murderous Mastery just meant they could just cut through anything with their AP missiles from, from deep. They also have a minus in cost by 25. So you lose that Murderous Mastery, which I believe was a bug to begin with, and you get a nice little reduction in cost, so at least they're a little bit easier to take. Doomfire Warlocks do get their +50 increase in cost, which is definitely warranted, as well as the Regiments of Renown. Slaanesh Harvesters get that as well. The Scissors of Slaughter get a -2 to attack, -1 to AP melee damage, and -15 missile block chance, which is huge. Scissors of Slaughter felt so tanky, and they could just delete a front line of medium to low tier units. I mean, even the high tier units could mulch through pretty quickly if they were left unattended. So the Sisters of Slaughter definitely kind of got a little bit of a gut check in a much needed way. I want them to be strong and I want them to rip through things, but I want them to not do it at the extreme terrifying rate in which they did it, where all I could do was panic and just like press concede because I was so scared. So Sisters of Slaughter got a little bit of a good gut check there. Dwarf, though, since the Thanes don't have their sword anymore, -50 to cost, so I guess that's warranted. And the gyro bomber gets +3 projectile AP damage and +1 projectile base damage. So it's a little bit does a little bit more damage on the field. I think they're trying to make gyro bombers fetch. They're trying to make them work. And I don't really know a lot of people that take them. I think with this last patch, they become a little bit more effective on the battlefield, and there's certain situations that they make a lot of sense. Like, if you're playing against maybe Chaos, it can really help out. But even against Chaos, I would be want to take them. So I think this is Creative Assembly's way of saying the gyro bombers are cool. Go guys, please take those. Empires, though, Empire gets a little bit of a buff here as far as its stockiness in combat. The Flagellants and Tattersouls get a little buff. They've been seeing not much light this day and age. Until Warhammer 1, they were, your coup de grace when it came to fighting certain chaff armies or large horde armies like Greenskins or what's those other guys? Vampire counts. Now, you really never really take Flagellants. So you get Flagellants and Tattersouls coming into the mix again with +2 hit points per entity. Halberdiers get a nice increase to their charge defense and just having expert charge defense, which applies more than one unit type other than just large. And a nice increase to their leadership, and great swords get a -50 in cost. Moving on to our boys, the Greenskins. Very small little update here. -1 hit points per entity and -1 charge bonus. Little bit of a nerf there to the Black Orcs. I'm waiting for that to say Black Orcs can now access swords and shields, can now access other weapons other than just a great axe, because that would make me a damn happy boy. High Elves here get Sword Masters of Hoeth, a -50 cost, which is great because that's probably my go-to caster for the High Elves. Alithanar gets an increased projectile muzzle velocity, which is a hell of a term to just say that his bow is going to shoot faster. Not shoot faster rate, but the actual arrow is going to travel through the air quicker. And Sisters of Avalorn have a minor increase in projectile accuracy, which I didn't know was a thing. I didn't think they needed it. I mean, every time you watch those things shoot at anything, it's just those little splashy explosions of them just ripping stuff apart. So I guess that's good to see. Lizardmen, though, get a little love to their Croxagores. So Cold Wind Riders minus 50 to cost, but their Croxagores get 16 hit points per entity, which, again, you know, there's not a whole lot. It is a large monstrous infantry unit, so there's not like there's like 50 in there. And a plus 15% missile resistance increase. So these guys aren't going to be focused down as hard by, say, repeating bolt throwers, anything like that that does a heavy AP damage that mulches them so quickly in the past. So nice to see that little kind of buff there for them. Because the Croxagores, again, are in a weird place and don't get a whole ton of playtime. Norsca, now that the patch has been released, is getting a big series of buffs here. Martyr Champions get some leadership bonuses. Mammoths, all variants, are going to have an increased bonus versus infantry and 3,000 mass increase, meaning their charges are going to be way more devastating, as we talked about before. Marauders, to mirror the Chaos, they're going to get their charge bonus of 1 for the Great Weapons and 2 for the Horsemasters. Then Icehorn Marauders, which are the Norscan Marauder Regiment's Renown, get minus 50 in cost, and Famir get a minus 3 bonus versus large with their Great Weapon variant. Their base Famir Warrior, though, gets a plus 10 base melee damage, which is quite nice. So they'll be able to do a little bit more damage when you use them in conjunction with, say, Berserkers. Skaven get their a mismatch here, but mainly all buffs. Death Runners get a plus 2 to charge bonus. Plague Monk Censer Bearers get a plus 2 health per entity, and Poison Wing Globadiers get a plus 4 bonus versus large missile damage, which is very nice because I think they needed that little extra bump up there. They just didn't do as much damage against large creatures as other things did. Subsequently, that was supposed to be like the answer to large, so I'm glad to see they get a little, actually a pretty significant buff up in their bonus versus large. Warp Lightning Cannon and the Play Called Catapult, though, both get an increase to their hit points. Now with so many items that can shoot them from so far range, it's nice that they kind of can actually stay in the fight to actually shoot something before they just get destroyed. The vampire counts, though, very small. Little minus reduction in cost to both the Graveguard with Great Weapons and the Devils of Schwarzhofen. Then the Wood Elves get a minus 50, a reduction in cost to their Eternal Guard and War Dancers Regiment Renown. So a lot of little tweaks here and there, mainly to costs. Bretonnia getting the lion's share of the best buffs, I think, and Dark Elves getting a pretty significant debuff. Some abilities, Hold the Line, replaced 100% charge resistance with plus 5 melee defense. I could take that. Hammer of Sigmar now, Air of Effect, 40 meter radius. Interesting. Grand Hammer of Sigmar, duration increased to 50 seconds. Lovely. Shield of Faith, duration increased to 25 seconds. Grand Shield of Faith, reduced to 40 meter radius. Duration increased to 50 seconds. So hopefully this is what is the beginning of a lot of buffs for the Empire. I mean, almost all this applies to Empire. I mean, Hold the Line. I don't always take it when I play Empire, but it is definitely on the Empire roster, like it is for almost everyone. But with these increases to Empire, as well as ones we got last patch, hopefully this is just a repeating motif of other goodies to come for the Empire. But that kind of sums up our patch notes here, guys. Hopefully you're as excited as I am to play the lovely Bladed Vagina Mouth Kharibdyss, and tomorrow we'll do a little video on that, and I'm sure that they'll release some sort of a little launch video that we can talk about as well. But as always, guys, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, do the stuff that I need. The thing, YouTube. That's what you got to do to get big, is whatever the fuck, guys. Just thanks for watching. Have a good one as always, and take care.